Welcome back to Whole Life Crisis with me, Ollie Rosser. It always feels silly saying that. I'm going to start this one off by talking about synchronicities. What I love about this sort of sitting down recording myself in front of a microphone with no real audience besides the people that happen to find it after the fact, is that I'm able to sort of think things through in real time, figure out exactly who I am. What do I believe in? No, it's not quite as weird as that. Basically, I've had a lot of synchronicities lately. Synchronicities, if you don't know, are a sort of phenomenon by which the universe, at least what I believe, the universe conspires to make things meet up in your consciousness. I think that's a decent way to explain it. I'm not religious, but I do believe in a higher power. I believe that there are cosmic forces beyond our knowings as mere human beings. I don't necessarily think that we are being guided in the sense that there is somewhere that the universe expects us to be as people. But I do think that there are signs and signals that maybe let you know that you're on the right path of something. This is probably something I'll discuss more and more as I do this more and more. It's not something that I, particularly discuss with friends or with family because it is a little bit strange. And we weren't brought up in a religious household or anything. I am baptized as, what would that make me? I'm a Christian, I guess. No particular denomination. I think we had a baptism as a excuse for a party and a family get-together. But yeah, I was never brought up with any particular religious beliefs. But I've developed my own over the course of my sort of mid-20s to where I am now, so the last decade, I guess. I promise I'll get onto synchronicities in a second. But I don't believe in any kind of rule-based religion. I don't believe that there is a God who demands things of us. I don't believe that as I said, I don't believe in fate. I don't believe that there is a specific destination we have to get to or that we will get to regardless of our decisions. I believe in cause and effect, but I do believe that there is a higher power that gives us signs of, as I said earlier, that we're on the right direction. So last night I was browsing Reddit and just scrolling through tons of posts as I do, and I was also watching a YouTube video in the background. And this happened simultaneously at exactly the same time. As I read these two words were also spoken on the YouTube video at the exact same time. And the two words were "with force." Now I don't think that's anything giving me a particular sign that I need to do something with force or something's going to happen to me with force. But it was just really interesting that I heard the words exactly at the same time as I read them. And that's two separate words, you could call that a phrase. It's not like I just, it's not like I read a particularly common word like and somebody said and in an audio book that I was listening to. I wouldn't consider that a synchronicity. But these two words, with force, I read and heard at the exact same time. That seems to me very strange. Out of all the combinations of words that there are in the English dictionary, out of all the combinations or, abundance of posts that I could have been looking at on Reddit and all of the things I could have been watching on YouTube, the universe sort of conspired to bring these two words together in my consciousness, visually and audibly. Now, I've had tons of synchronicities over the years. Many of them I've had recently, and I really should write a list of these because I can't bring any to mind at the moment, but it's usually something similar where I'll hear a word and read a word at the same time. And frequently they're not quite as impressive as, a phrase like "with force" appearing. But I would definitely, I'd definitely say that they're synchronicities in the sense that they're not standard words, they're not common words that you would use. Do you get what I mean? They're not standard words. They're not very common words. And, it's definitely the situations where I notice and go, oh, hell, that's strange. I read that, heard that at the same time. I like synchronicities. Yesterday as well, this is my theory about them. I might be wrong. I've not done any like further reading on the subject, but I feel as though the universe gives you a little sign to tell you when you're on the right path. So yesterday I was sat down. I was really thinking about my health, my well-being, what this year is going to bring. September is always a new start for me and my family because we work with children, and our year sort of runs from September to mid-July when the school terms start and finish. So that's more of a fresh start than, January would be for most people, because that is the actual start of the new year. So September feels like a fresh start for me. So I was running it over in my head. Here's the dog. Please sit down quietly more. I was running it over in my head, healthy strategies now, because I've let myself go a little bit. I need to get back on track. And as I was thinking about this, that's when that synchronicity occurred. So I feel as though, and again, I really should start making a synchronicities diary so that I know, I can sort of like identify a pattern. But it feels to me like whenever I'm thinking about something in a positive light, or I'm thinking about doing something which will have a beneficial impact on my life, a little synchronicity pops up, and it kind of lets me know, yeah, you're on the right path. Keep following this path. And very often I don't listen to it. Last night I was thinking about healthy lifestyles, and then in the evening I still did cave and I ate a bit of junk food. Not as bad as I have done previously, but still, it ruined a good day of healthy lifestyle for me. But yeah, I don't always follow these synchronicities, but they definitely do seem to pop up when I'm on a right, even if it's just thought, when I'm on a right thought path. So I'm going to start making a diary of these. I'll use this as my first instance, and see where I go from here. But the problem is they always happen when you least expect it. So now I've got it in my head because I've been talking about it. If I'm looking for synchronicities, obviously they're not going to occur, because I'm paying too much attention to something that I want to see. And yeah, they always happen haphazardly. Man, I feel I feel like I should do a big in-depth discussion about my spiritual beliefs, because I've neglected them somewhat lately, and it's really fun to get back into this thinking process and to sort of talk about it on here, because again, like I said at the beginning, it's kind of like I'm getting to know myself and really refine my beliefs, and when you put it out in public, it gives you a bit of accountability. So if somebody asks me my beliefs and I say something that I've said differently here, whatever, I think you know what I mean. But yeah, if anyone's listening to this, and I'm only putting this audio on YouTube at the moment, feel free to leave comments underneath, or message me directly. I've got email links and everything on my website, which you can find at www.ollyrosaphoto.com. By all means, get in touch. I'd love to discuss this kind of thing with people. So yeah, very weird last night, with force, spoken and read at exactly the same time. It literally made me laugh out loud because it just took me by surprise. But yeah, I'm not going to go looking for synchronicities now because I want them to pop up naturally. So today I'm helping a local band called Aronson, who are putting on a bit of a show in one of the pubs in Newport. And it's not a show for an audience. It is a show that they are just recording because they recently released a new EP. So because of the coronavirus, they have booked out a venue, but there's no audience there. So I'm just going there along with a couple of other people to help them film it, which is very exciting. I love stuff like this. I love being able to put my equipment to real good use with a purpose, unlike this podcast, which is just me sat in my room on my own for now. But yeah, I just before the lockdown happened, I think it was late last year, probably about November, maybe even December time, my friend Alison and I went to take photographs of Aronson when they were rehearsing in Music Box in Cardiff. And that turned out to be one of my favourite photo shoots that I've ever done. We didn't go in with anything particular in mind that we wanted to achieve. I just took my camera, took my speed lights, which are like off-camera flashes that I could trigger whenever I clicked the shutter on my camera, the lights would flash. And we watched them rehearse, and it was like a very, very loud, very, very intimate live music experience, because obviously it was just Alison and I who were in the room that weren't part of the band. So we got to hear them rehearsing their songs, and it was a really great time. But what we did is we just placed the lights around in different places, took different photos from different angles and different focal lengths, and I got some of my favorite photos that I've ever taken from that session. One of which I sold on Shutterstock this week, which is a rare occurrence, but I always like to see it when I make a sale. I've put a bunch of photos on Shutterstock. They're all unrelated. I don't hope to make make my millions on selling photographs on a site like Shutterstock, but one of the Aronson ones sold, and it was very nice to see. So with photography, I haven't done much over the lockdown, but I've recently picked the camera up again, and it's been a pleasure. I took Sean out last weekend so that she could play around with my camera, so I could teach her sort of some of the basics of photography. Not that I'm an expert, or not that I know exactly what I'm talking about, but I know enough that I could impart some wisdom on somebody else. So Sean and I went out. She had a great time. She said that I was a very good teacher, which is good to know, because I feel like the way I explained it to her, it really sunk in, and I was given little scenarios, like, you're filming a football match, you're photographing a football match, you want to capture a clean, crisp shot of a guy taking a penalty, what do you set your camera on? And that sort of gave her the nudge then to think for herself. So I wasn't telling her these exact settings, I just told her what each of the settings do, and then she came up with the settings for these scenarios I was giving her, and it worked out really well. And Sean ended up sort of falling in love with the camera, and now she's purchased one of her own. I use a Sony a6000, and I've invested probably more money than I should have in this system with regards to lenses and accessories and things like that. So when Sean was doing some research, she was looking at getting like a different camera system, like an Olympus or a Panasonic, I think. I can't remember which one she chose specifically, but she was thinking of going down another route. But I encouraged her, partially selfishly, because I would also like to be I would also like to have another camera at my disposal, but also selflessly, because basically I encouraged her to get a Sony camera so that she could use then all the lenses that I've previously bought. So we're sort of sharing the same camera ecosystem. If she'd have gone another direction, she would have had to spend all this money on new lenses the more she got into it, and she wanted to play around with different, the effects of different lenses and things like that. But she went with the Sony a6000, which I think was a good decision. So that's coming soon, and she will have the benefit then, not only of my expertise as as an incredibly amateur local photographer, but she will also get the benefit of using all of the equipment that I've bought alongside my Sony a6000, so that she can use it for her purposes. But it's mutually beneficial, because in exciting news, I've also booked in my first wedding. Well, I say booked in. The people who are getting married have messaged me to ask if I would photograph their wedding. I explained to them that I'm not a wedding photographer, but I am happy to shoot their wedding as my first time for a low fee if they're happy to take a chance on an amateur photographer shooting their wedding. So they've agreed, I've agreed. I came to a relatively low price, I think, which should just cover the time that I'm spending there in the day. And I'm hoping it'll go well. It's already filled me with nerves, because this isn't just photographing something for my own benefit. Somebody wants an end product out of this. But I have been upfront with them. I've told them that if you're looking for the type of photography that a £1,500 wedding photographer can get you, you're not looking for me. So I'm hoping it'll go well. But now I've got two cameras at my disposal, because I might take Sean along with me, not necessarily as a second shooter, but just to sort of help me manage my equipment and things like that. So what I'm hoping to do is get my camera body with one lens, a prime lens, Sean's camera body with another prime lens, so that I've got two different focal lengths that I can just pick up and use whenever I need. Bash the table there. So yeah, that's quite exciting, but again, very nerve-wracking. But I'm hoping it goes well, because I'd like to turn photography into like a side business, so I can make a little bit more money for the things that I want to do in the future, like our home renovation, which has stalled somewhat, but I'll be working on my latest renovations diary video soon, and that'll be on YouTube. On top of this wedding photography booking, I've also started using watermarks on my photos that I put on Instagram, and it makes me feel like a bit of a fraud, because I always feel like people who, this is probably a very bad mindset to have, but I feel like people who self-promote, it always feels a little bit cringy to me. I've never been very good at promoting myself. I don't like the thought of overselling myself. Does that make sense? So even on YouTube, like I've started helping a lot of people. I think they tune into my videos and I talk about finances, and I'm getting feedback to say that the things that I've talked about have actually had impact on other people's lives, which is great. But I don't like the idea of overselling myself and promoting myself too heavily. So for example, with photography, I think I'm a fairly competent photographer, and the photos that I've taken for other people, they've all given great feedback. So I think it's time now that I sort of start changing my opinions on self-promotion and start trusting in my own abilities a bit more, because I do love it. I do enjoy it. So that's where this watermark thing came in. On Instagram now, the photos that I put up have my watermark on them. I don't know how I feel about it. Like I say, it does make me feel like a bit of a fraud. But I've gone with it now. I've taken the plunge. Again, if you're listening to this and you do have any input on this subject, let me know underneath. Do you value your own abilities? Are you good at self-promotion? It's probably something that I could do with learning a little bit about and getting more comfortable with. Because even in our own business, when I run the family business along with my brother and sister, we do childcare. We've never advertised our services, but we've always been consistently incredibly busy, and it's all come from word of mouth from other customers. So the customers that we do serve are always incredibly happy with what we've done, but we struggle with singing our own praises, I think. And again, I don't know if that sounds big-headed, me saying that we're very good and we know we are, we just don't say it. But that is the case, that is the case. Anyway, that was a bit of a rant. So the past couple of episodes I've done on this, I've sort of always ended with a little saying that's come to mind recently and little discussions around that subject. So again, another one of my favorite sayings that I came across a few years back and has stuck with me and helped me in my decision-making processes. Not all the time, again, because as I said earlier in this episode, I've recently been making not very good decisions. But the phrase is, if the whole world followed you, would you be pleased with where you took it? And again, this is another example of synchronicity, because I've been thinking about this phrase over the past week, because I was planning on sitting down and recording this. And then again on Twitter, a guy that I follow tweeted out pretty much exactly the same saying. It wasn't worded exactly the same, but the notion was the same. If people followed your actions and mimicked what you did, would you be pleased with the way they were behaving? I guess is the crux of this saying. Since I heard that, it's always stuck with me, and I've applied it to, various areas of my life over different times. And I guess the crux of the saying is, are you being a good person? Are you being an honourable person? If everybody on earth acted in the way that you are acting at the moment, would the world be a good place? So, and again, it could be tricky, because I guess everybody's got different opinions on what is good and what is bad. To take a somewhat ridiculous view on it, a serial killer who thinks that killing lots of people is a good thing would obviously not have a good impact on the world if other people followed him. But I think we can discard those examples because they are a bit ridiculous, and we can just think about how we're behaving in the now, every day. Are we making the world a better place? Similar saying is, like, be the change you want to see in the world. Do to others as you would have them do unto you. I always feel like I should look these up because I don't think I ever get the phrasing particularly spot on. But the idea is the same. If the whole world followed you, would you be pleased with where you took it? Are you living honorably at the moment? Are you doing the right things? If everybody on earth copied your mannerisms and your behaviors, not mannerisms, your behaviors, would the world be in a better place than it currently is? And if not, it invites us then to think about what we could do to improve our behaviors. And it doesn't necessarily have to be behaviors in an external way, like how you treat people that you encounter in the streets, although that is a very good thing to think about. But it could be internal factors as well, like, am I eating healthily? Am I exercising? Am I doing things that will give me, that will provide or lead to better mental health? Am I eating in a way that's good for the environment? Am I cutting down on plastic packaging? Am I eating in a sustainable way from local businesses? That kind of thing. And the answer is no at the moment for me. No, I'm just kidding. I do try and do my best every day to make wise decisions that will impact the earth in a positive way as opposed to a negative way, and also impact the people around me. Obviously, everybody has their vices, and I think people should be free to do exactly what they want as long as it doesn't impact somebody else's well-being. So, for example, smoking and drinking. If that's your thing, I don't personally do it, but as long as you're not hurting somebody else in that process, crack on. My major vice is junk food. I spend too much money on it. I spend too much time on it. I consume way too much of it. I've overcome that in the past, and it's something that I'm looking to overcome again going forward now. But yeah, I see that as not necessarily having a negative impact on other people. But am I making myself as strong a member of society as I possibly can be? Probably not at the moment. And that bothers me. It bothers me in the sense that I'm not in the best condition I possibly can be to take care of my friends and family and take care of Sean and take care of the dogs. Am I mentally as sharp as I could be in order to run the business? Am I physically as sharp as I could be in order to run the business? Probably not at the moment. So I think I'm going to come back to this saying over the next few weeks and months, and hopefully on until eternity, until I've figured out my own issues. But yeah, again, please let me know underneath this what you think, if you've got any thoughts on this subject. If the whole world followed you, would you be pleased with where you took it? And again, reading on Twitter yesterday, when I came across this tweet that was sort of along these same lines, somebody underneath had commented something about, I wouldn't expect other people to follow me because the path that I take is too difficult. And that was a spin on this thing that I'd never considered before, which I don't actually think is true. Like, he seemed to be talking about it in like competitive terms. So if the whole world followed me, they'd never keep up because I'm going too hard. I'm doing too well. I'm taking the hard paths. But I don't take it to mean that. I take it to mean it's an invitation for us to think about our own behaviors, our own thought patterns, and how our actions impact the wider world. I'm about to go off on another... if I can say it with enough conviction, maybe it'll sound convincing. They say true leaders lead by example, not by... no, that's rubbish. Not by dictation. Not dictation. What's the word? Delegation. That's it. Anyway, I've messed that up now. I'm about to go now because in a few minutes I'm going to be leaving for Newport to go and help Aronson with the filming. You can find me on Instagram at Ollie Rosser Photo. You can find me on Twitter at Ollie Rosser, on YouTube youtube.com/Ollie Rosser, where I talk about finance and other things like that, and where you'll find this podcast. Please feel free to get in touch if you consume any of my content and get something from it. I love talking to people who have watched these videos, and if I can be of any service in any way, please just ask. Within reason. Thanks for listening. I hope you all have a wonderful week next week. Take care of yourselves and each other. I realize that I've stolen that from Jerry Springer, but there is truth to those sentences. Peace be with you.